want to say thank you for everyone that has been with us all through this while and been part of this particular show. We say thank you, thank you. We can't say it enough. And we keep saying, keep talking, never keep quiet. For everyone out there and you're wondering what's happening, remember, if I am the solution, same you should be. We all come out, we all talk, and we seek for solutions. We don't dwell on the problem. And as such, we don't get weighed down because we are seeking solutions. We are getting our hands dirty and doing the work. Where would depression come from? Are people suffering? Yes. Do we have poverty in some places? Yes. Do we have famine in some places? Yes. But are people also rich? Yes. Are people cultivating lands? Yes. Building companies? Yes. So choose your divide. Choose which side you want to play. And when you play your side, remember that, hey, your brother is also your keeper, and your keeper is also your brother. So we lend a helping hand. Welcome to SOUQ Pulse. My name is Chooks, John Rogers Chooks, and it's my delight to also have with us our guest. We won't be going on any break for now because we started late. So, hey, apologies again. Join me as I welcome to SOUQ Pulse for today, Dr. Idahosa. So you're welcome to SOUQ Pulse.
Good Nigeria, Chooks.
I like that. You're welcome. Thank you very much. Now, for those that are wondering, I needed to introduce him so that by the time I drop the topic for today, he doesn't have any other choice. No exit. So what are we looking at today? Now, for people that are wondering, we say businesses must get productive. We say people must get productive. We say nations must get productive. A lot of times we focus on Africa. Yes, we still talk about Asia. We discuss things happening in the West as it affects Africa. Today we are looking at businesses. We are looking at industries. We're looking at productivity. But we are looking at it from a different side. What are the best practices for industry-based financing for Africa? Now, if you listen to the news, if you read the papers, there is no single month that will pass by without you hearing from one side of Africa or the other, government subventions, government loans. Some could be grants. Some could be a minister wake up and get the government to approve a particular portion of big chunk of money for a particular thing. It's always in the news. If we take and calculate all through this, and after a period of time, you now ask yourself, if these monies, billions, it could be in dollars, it could be in your local currencies, have been spent or allocated or loaned out or given as grants, where are these particular businesses? Then for businesses on ground, how are they exactly accessing grants, monies that they need for business? That is why we are bringing this up today, and we really need to talk about it. Now, for those that have gone through all the beautiful schooling, you have all your kind of strategy and formulation. But for me here on SOUQ Pulse, I just say for your business, for your manufacturing, I classify them in three. You conceptualize, you implement, you scale. Easy thing everybody in Balogun market will understand. Balogun market in Lagos. Now, at the first point, you might not need money, but at the second and third place, you might need money. Yours. If you don't have, then you need money from somewhere. Now, to open up and talk about this, I will drop some figures that I really don't like. But first, let's bring in Doctor into this particular conversation. So, sir, what do you think are the best practices for industry-based financing? Accountable industry-based financing. Accountable on both sides, from the giver and the receiver in Africa.
Thank you, Chooks, again for having me on show this afternoon. From the commentary you just ran, you see the real fundamental problem, which of course many African leaders faces. You have articulated how simple it is to get it done from conceptualization to implementation. And then, of course, you are evaluating whatever thing that you are implementing. It looks simple. But it's not as simple as you just put it. More so that you have to say that at the point of conceptualization, you don't need money. In short, as a matter of fact, you need more money at the point of conceptualization.
Whose money?
Oh, yes, anybody's money. You see, the point here...
Whose money do you need at conceptualization?
Now, this is the point I want to make clear to you. You see, What is wrong with most programs and projects in Africa is that the element of design thinking is not put into project conceptualization.
Okay.
We just see it work somewhere else, and we say, hey, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. If it works in another clime, just bring it here, it will work. But forget it. We have different cultures. We have different philosophies around life and what we do with money and the rest of it. Therefore, the fact that it works elsewhere does not mean that it will automatically will work here. So the need to now readjust or redefine whatever the concept is become very important. And here, stakeholder engagement, which is preliminary research, become very fundamental. And this is what Africans don't pay attention to. So if I want to launch a program, for example, for the poor.
Now, this is the side that beats me. If I want to launch a program for the poor, sir, who is the poor?
Yeah. Poor are those who have not the means to get what they want. So if I want to launch a program for these people, and I have the means to get what I want, I have to first situate myself in their position.
Is that via research or what we see happening?
That's happened via research.
Okay.
So we need to engage them.
To know what they really want.
What they really want. How they want it. And then you are able then to be able to help them reframe their thinking. Because see, some people don't know certain things don't work. I'll give you a very simple example. Some years ago, in my environment, a certain lady was going to do her 70th birthday and said, look, I have some money and I don't want to spend it for a party. I want to empower people who don't need so much. Maybe all they need is just 50,000. They'll be able to start something. And then we monitor over them to see how they grow. And say, okay, yes. When that project was launched, a lot of people who didn't need the money started to apply. Now, when you say, look, you don't need this money. It's just 50,000. What your business needs is in millions. So you don't need to be indebted in this particular project that's available. But they all put their names on the ground. And they felt, oh, we needed it. And at a certain point, the coordinator said, okay, no problem. Let's everybody have it. Now, of course, you know, there are some certain things that you cannot achieve with some certain level of fund. And they really could not account for as much as 50,000. And what happened? That dented their integrity.
Okay.
So sometimes somebody needs to think for this poor first, to articulate and aggregate the views of these people and see this is exactly what will be needed to get this program to work. But we have to hear from them first and foremost.
Okay. Now, I like your submission at that. But one particular statement you made that really caught my attention was not just the giving, monitoring what happened with what was given. Monitoring the businesses that took it and seeing if they're going to grow. Now, permit me to read out some good numbers. Now, I'm taking this example. A lot of the numbers we get to hear here are numbers coming out from Nigeria. Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa. Yes, you heard me. Now, the federal government is launching, that is presently, 200 billion fund for MSME, medium and small scale industry, manufacturing enterprises, and SMEs. 200 billion. Now, sometimes I get to ask, are these social intervention funds? Don't answer. Now, we also have the presidential conditional grant scheme. Now, this is for nano businesses via the Bank of Industry. We have agricultural credit guarantees scheme fund via the CBN, that's the Central Bank of Nigeria. Then there was this particular 5.12 billion that went to research via TED fund. There was 110 billion for youth entrepreneur. The list goes on and on and on. And a lot of these monies were voted for, passed. But it's the monitoring part that we are yet to get to see. We are yet to see people or businesses that say, okay, good, I got my startup from this particular intervention. I got my builder from this particular intervention. This particular airline you are seeing us here 15 years ago, we got this from that. This is where we're looking. That we're asking, how can the real businesses, industries that need this financing, how can they get this money? And for this money that government is spending, what route should they start taking in getting this money into the hands of people that really need it?
I think in communication theory, the demand that gets into governmental system, what they call, Cadres call it the demand stress. There's so much of agency pressure on government. And you know our society is run on
Run on
unions. Association of pepper grinders.
They didn't get the money. I can assure you that.
Association of urban mechanics. So you have all manners of unions whose leadership put pressure on government. Oh, this is what our member needs. And you see them sit with government and they are thinking for their members. And this is where the problem for me is. So when this pressure comes on government, government is thinking that probably they have done their homework. And then you give these things for them to implement and then it fails.
And no one is held accountable.
Nobody can be held accountable because they come to tell you, so, oh, we are association of this, we are association of that, we are association of this. You just look at it. When, for example, you see government and SOUQ back and forth in terms of negotiation, everybody sit around table. We are talking about figure. But nobody is grinding this figure before implementation.
Just like you said, the research before even...
Oh, yes.
It's
So
not there.
government need to commission independent research
Okay.
to ascertain the extent to which those demands that are being put on it really are relevant. Let me give you a very typical example. I use this everywhere. A certain community that needed water, government felt they needed water, and they came to do a borehole for them. And then, of course, the women compromised the borehole. And the simple reason was the fact that there was no longer room for women talk. They didn't need the borehole. But the government was thinking, oh, that's what they need. This is why you see government will invest so much money on infrastructure, on building a system, and then, of course, it's vandalized by the same people that you think you were helping. So the need for this engagement, stakeholder engagement, we cannot talk about it enough. Government must deliberately find a way to engage with the stakeholders and let government have an independent assessment of the true situation. Then you can now channel whatever resource you have toward that particular thing.
Okay. Now, I wanted us to go through this particular discourse in 4 phases. We've started the first one, which happens to be government involvement, government direct involvement. I still don't want to call it subventions because most people see that word as something free. Then we also look at development banks, the BOIs, the Bank of Agriculture, the industrial banks. Then we'll now come down to commercial banks. Then we'll now last look at grants, which most of the government thing looks more like grants because they don't pay back. Now, let's give some example. When this administration started, there was this particular issue that was on ground, and that had to do with monies, loans, that was what it is, that was given to farmers for rice. And there was also loans that were given to after COVID. This money is as of now, we still don't have up to 30 or 20% payment on those loans. And this administration said, we want the money back. This is not the first time. This is not the second time. But we still see some of these government monies, I'm not calling them subventions, available. Should government start looking at partnering with banks and hold the bank responsible instead of going through CBN and going through community organizations?
Yeah, but that defeats the purpose. Let's take, for example, the case of Bank of Industry. At certain points, the Bank of Industry were dealing directly with customers. People were making an application to collect facility, and of course, you know that they were not giving fiscal money at that time. They only will help you import equipment. Now, that seemed not to have worked. Then, of course, when they were broken into region, they decided to say, okay, well, what we will do is probably we have to set up cooperatives. Some people banded themselves into cooperatives to take this loan. Now, Bank of Industry is trying to channel some of this facility through commercial bank. Now, what do you get? You take it back to where it was, where, of course, the rate that's going to be charged from commercial bank will not be sustainable if you put it in MSMEs.
Okay, let's hold the talk for commercial bank till we get there.
No.
The
point I'm trying to make is the fact that you see people who don't see these monies as an investment. For them, it's part and parcel of taking in the largesse.
The national cake.
Call it the national cake. So this is the issue that's at stake here. That's why government development banks are not able really to enforce some of all these things. And don't forget that the superstructure for our economic development is politics. Because we have put the cart before the horse.
Okay, now you are getting me confused. When you say the superstructure of our economic development is politics, which means it can swing anywhere.
Yeah, you see, because what makes sense to us,
and any default can be forgiven,
is
depending on who is
political consideration.
Okay.
So we sacrifice economic relevance at the altar of political expediency.
Okay, we still have some way to go. I'm not going to say long way. We still have some way to go. Now, if we're looking at industry-based financing, we are looking at solutions right now. So we are going to ask based on the solutions we think is possible. Can we start looking at cluster financing? If we're looking for higher growth rate, if we're looking for something Africa can hold on to, something you can look at and say, okay, good. If all the mechanics in Lagos, let's say a local government in Lagos, decide to band together in Ladipo, and there happens to be a funding for a mechanic village or for a production, they go to Ladipo and sort them out and hold them responsible and watch them grow. Is it possible for Africa to start looking towards that?
You just take that away from my mouth, because I was going to say that the bigger solution was the fact that Mr. President, the President of Nigeria, must go back to his campaign rhetorics. And they were quite, for me, fundamental, and they were part of the reason why really I felt that, of course, he understood the situation, where he talks about cluster funding. Now, what you need to do really is that when you are setting out money to solve a problem, there must be a document, standard document, that states out from visioning to strategy and tactics of deploying that program. And that document will be detailed enough, and it comes with a cash flow, which means if we're giving now this money, even if it is a social intervention money, the agency involved must be able to quantify in real terms what the expectations are. So which means if government say, oh, we want to intervene by conditional cash transfer, we should be able to put in real terms and put in public space for debate. What are the actual expectations in terms of impact on our GDP, for example? So if government is saying, no, we are raising GDP from $500 billion economy to $1 trillion economy, and we're saying if we give out these 50,000 to 10 million people, it's going to drive this process by this number of percentage. So it becomes scientific. And then government should be able to say, at the end, you have independent assessors who really come to see, did we achieve what we set out to do? And if we did not, what were the challenge or challenges that we met while implementing? So that when you want to retool or you want to redesign, you'll be able to factor in those challenges that make this other one not to succeed. Now, until we get really serious about deployment of these funds, we will not get results. But most of the time, we just put figures and banding them without really putting framework on the ground to justify whatever claim somebody is making.
Okay. Now, we need to get serious. So says our doctor. We need to justify the claim the person or whatever business or manufacturer industry is making. And we need to start holding ourselves responsible. That is like coming from the team. Don't go anywhere.
Do I give you one short example?
Okay, go ahead, sir.
I was speaking to a group of youth on Sunday, and I said to them, where do you want to live in Lagos? Oh, somebody said, oh, I want to live in Banana Island. I said, oh, wow, what a great ambition. And I ask, how much do you currently earn? Multiply it and check the number of years you need to accumulate that to be able to buy land in Banana Island. Because if horses were wishes, or if wishes were horses, beggars will ride.
Indeed, beggars will ride. We're here and we're looking at what are the best practices for industry-based financing in Africa. And we have Dr. Idahosa here who has been doing justice to this particular one. If you missed the first part, sorry, make sure you go back to our link, go to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, every single one of them. Click watch and also call your neighbor while you are at it. Remember, that information you're passing across could change someone's life and business. You never can tell. Never stop talking. So let's head somewhere else. Now we're looking at accountability. On the part of the giver, on the part of the financier, how can we start seeing true pictures of money that was disbursed? We're not asking for how it was disbursed, but we want to say, okay, if the Minister of Youth sometime last year said they are marking so and so amount of billions for IT professionals, how did it go? When did it leave? Where did it go to?
Yeah, but I think those records are there, really. We know that this money were transferred. Some people received it. Now, the question is,
if we accumulate the transfer, is it going to come back to the original figure that was printed?
Yeah, it could in some cases. In some cases, it may not, because again, that speaks again to the real critical issue. I said earlier in the morning, I was listening to Adam Soshomole in Hazan Kuka's presentation of the book on sometime last week, and he was really talking about the place of value in our society, that the real problem that he feels that Nigeria has is a problem that has to do with corruption. And don't forget, the former president actually said that if we don't kill corruption, corruption will kill us, because that's the real...
Which of the former president? We've had a whole lot.
A lot. Okay, I think the immediate past.
Okay, the immediate past, okay.
Yeah, said that if we don't kill corruption, corruption will kill us. And even the one that preceded him had said that what they were trying to do at that time was that yam and goat were in the same room. And all the effort that they were trying at that time was to see how to separate yam from goats. So it tells you.
But it's easy. Yam, carbohydrates, goat, protein.
Yeah, but the
That's pepper soup meal.
goat eats the yams.
You kill both of them. That's pepper soup meal. You have protein and you have carbohydrate. What was Nigeria waiting for?
So this is a problem. So if you have yam and goat in the same room, then of course you don't expect to have the yam to pound the yam because the goat would have eaten them raw. So this is the fundamental. Yeah, a lot of things there we speak to value issues are there. But fundamentally speaking, is the fact that you have to first of all raise a critical mass of people who are financially literate. Because most of the problem we see here is not really the problem of intentional abuse of process. Sometimes you also see cases where people are not financially literate and they don't count the cost before starting a building. Like he said in the Holy Book, who is that man who will start a building that without first counting the cost? Or you want to go to a war, you don't size up your army. You find that you get into that project, you get stuck. Because there's a whole lot of intricacy in doing business and making profit. Somebody just wake up and tell you, oh, you need to do this kind of business. Let me give you my own personal experience in this regard. I wanted to start a tissue business. And I went to people who were in the industry to see how we put figure together. The first question was, set up the machine, import the pulp that you are going to slate to make the tissue because we wanted to do a high-end tissue. And those who were operating this machine and they were in the factory, we called them together and we assembled a team and we sat down together. How many this size of tissue will you get in 1 ton of virgin pulp? And I was told that if we cut it, we can get 13,000. And I did my calculations and arithmetic by 13,000. I said, oh, wow, profitable. Then the machine arrived, the pulp arrived, and we start slitting. And we can't get 6,000.
What happened between? They gave you wrong results, wrong research. So
Now it came back to us and said, oh, there's some trick inside.
okay,
Wow. So if I'm going to measure this size, gram of tissue, that's what I'm selling. Oh, they say, oh, we pump air inside. You do all this inside. So all those things, you don't factor it into your thinking. Because if you don't have experience in that kind of trade, you will not be able to actually sit down to say, this is what gets in here. This is a conservative estimate of the things I'm going to get. So a lot of people plunge into business, even with borrowed fund, hoping that it's as lucrative as somebody has painted a picture because he has not experienced it. So this is where really some of all these issues, you find them happening. So you take a loan from Bank of Industry, for example, you get into a project that you think is lucrative in quotes, and by the time the reality dawn on you, you discover it's not as lucrative as it was painted.
okay. Before we dive deep into getting the loans from Bank of Industry, now let's get to them. The Bank of Industry and the commercial banks. We'll get to deal with them. Our time is running. Now, we're still looking at monies from government. Those big monies from government. Most that don't get paid back. But now, the ones they call loans, where or what's the best way you think government should channel those monies to the people that really need them? Now, for those that are already producing something, those that have a research down and ready to get into manufacturing, those that have those particular ideas that are viable, what is the best channel you think government can use to reach them?
Well, I think there will need to be a synergy between industry experts and financial institutions. And I keep advocating that synergy between the town and the gown in Nigeria is very weak. So if you have a huge synergy between the town and the gown, you find that you are training people and somebody is certified that this person has qualified and he knows this trade. And then, of course, that person is empowered
to go there and do work.
the business.
Okay, we have this this trade that is very common in Nigeria, but we see it because it's our own. We don't take it serious. Where be it a mechanic, be it a vulcanizer, be it a plumber, be it someone trading in the market, they get an apprentice. Apprentice spends 4-5 years, and at the end of 4-5 years, in our own parlance, we say they settle the person, or the person graduates from the trade. Can we start looking at that as something that we can adopt?
In short, that's a model that can work for us.
So why are we not looking at it? Because this person has gone through the period.
Process, yeah.
This person has learned the trade. He has learned the craft. At the end of the day, can there just be a place where that person can just, okay, master and student, they walk in and this person is settled, or this person is given a grant to start for someone that doesn't have access to finance?
Yeah, I think that's the real way we should go. I learned of an agency that was operating in my corner the other day. I think it was one German NGO partnering with Nigeria, and they were empowering widows and young women. What they were doing was actually training them. It was fantastic. They keep them in a class for a month or thereabout, training them on how to cook. And they do practicals. And once the month ends, they give them equipment to go start the trade. So that approach will work so that people who don't have a need for a facility, we don't end up giving to them. So we can demonstrate their seriousness by their performance in learning those trade. And this is where government really need to put emphasis. So that even if it's agriculture we want to do, we have to aggregate people and ensure that land is available.
Aggregate farmers, not just people.
Yeah. So, and ensure that there's land available and that these people really understand the business of farming. And if they don't, we can actually brush them up and then get them to do the farm. But see, some of all these projects are also there really, because I've also seen a situation where people have been trained and giving seedlings and the rest of it, because Lagos does a lot of that. But again, evaluation is a problem to go and find out how successful these people were in terms of farm and delivery.
Okay, this takes us to our next question. Who should we hold accountable for these particular monies if they are not paid back? If they're not utilized well, who should we hold accountable? Who should we say, okay, you're responsible? Pay us.
I think that's difficult to say, but I think both parties should be really held accountable, as it were. If there's no natural disaster that makes that money to sink, the one who gives and the one who takes should be liable at the same time. But you see, again, it's another structural thing that we would need to also consider in this, is that people will need to actually, before we start any further intervention as a country, we must be done with our identification.
Okay, the national identification.
Yes, where we are able to pin people down to houses and locate them with GPS in their homes.
That way you're not financing a ghost.
Oh yes, you are not financing a ghost, and you are financing somebody who is known within community. Now, if we don't have a proper,
the person might not be known, but somebody else in the community can vouch for the person.
A national identification scheme that connect people to addresses that are verifiable, you will not be able to actually get accountability 100%. But when we know people, and that's my real love for Islamic banking, the facilities are given not to cerebral people in quotes, but given to people who meet two criteria of character and competence.
Okay.
Now, how do you determine competence?
Okay.
You have a well-written business plan. How do you determine character? There's somebody who is in the religious community who can certify.
Hold me if this person fails.
So this work for Islamic Bank everywhere. And I think other...
That should be a norm. It's not like it's
commercial banks, other development bank can actually borrow a leaf from this. So that we are not asking people to go and bring a house document, go and bring a landed document, go and bring car, but we are asking that, look, if there's somebody who can vouch for your character and that you can demonstrate competence, we will give you facility.
Okay. Now, you're out there, you're wondering why we are dwelling on this much. We are saying Africa should get productive. We are saying every single one of us should contribute our quota to make sure the economy of our different countries grow. And how can we get that done? For those in business, for those in manufacturing, for those producing something, you may need, or you at some particular point in time, I want to scale up, you will need some financing. That is why we are here. Now, let's go to BOI and commercial banks, BOI and other development banks. We get to see this, that majorly they are in big cities, small towns. We don't get to see a lot of their presence in very, very small villages where maybe the farmers are. Somebody doing a byproduct of an agricultural produce is. How can we start saying, okay, development banks, government subventions, government interventions get to these places? What's your advice for them to move?
Yeah, but I also, it's, take for example, you look at the mandate for BOI, for example, their position for value addition, not for primary production. So BOI are not supposed to be funding people who are going into agriculture or who are extracting raw materials. They are supposed to see people who are adding value to raw things.
About Bank of Agriculture.
So there's a Bank of Agriculture that should focus on agriculture. So these development agencies or institutions are sector-driven or directed. So what's fundamental here is the fact that if you don't have industries, for example, in the rural areas, of course, you may not find a bank of industry there. But of course, the Bank of Agriculture should be there. But the real question to ask is the fact in the rural area, is it money really needed for agriculture? Because most of the time, these people are doing subsistence farming. And you don't need to go give them loan, because if you give them loan, at the end of the day, they are not even able to pay for the value of the loan.
Yes,
because it's only a person who wants to do a commercial agriculture, for example, that you will need to give a loan. I know my father does yam farm while he was alive, God bless his soul.
And he had a whole lot of yam ban.
Yes, of course.
And still some of his yams were going bad.
And most of the time, at the end of the year, I can't even make a 40,000 for a whole year.
Some of his yams,
but
his yams, were they going bad or not?
Yeah, they did go bad.
No, what if now the villagers can now bunch and get money from the bank to build something that can preserve their yam? Something that they can store their grains in. They won't be scared of not farming much. They'll open up and just farm as much as they can.
Yeah, but you see, they don't need to band it together, because this is also business. It's also get people who will invest, for example, in storage facilities.
Okay.
Cold storage facility.
Okay.
It's a business.
Let's get to this particular place before they sign us off the studio. Now let's look at commercial banks. Correct me if I'm wrong. These banks, one of the major mandates is to grow the economy, which means they need to lend to industries. They need to lend to businesses. But at the rate at which we are seeing them, let's take, for example, those in Nigeria, lending at digits that I can't just stand here and mention. Is it profitable to the businesses? How and what do you think should be done so that businesses can really access the finances they need through commercial banks?
Yeah, but I think the practice globally is that commercial banks are short-tenured facility institutions. They are not supposed to give you loan that you have to wait for some time before moratorium comes in. It's like somebody who wants to finance an LPO.
Shorten up to a year?
Now, yes, maximum. It shouldn't be really more than 6 months at the maximum.
3 years.
Yes, 3 years.
That's good.
6 months.
That is good.
At the maximum. And what is supposed to be is that somebody is financing an LPO, for example, and you get an LPO to do a project, maybe it's 90 days payment, and then of course they can finance that, and then you get the money and pay back, and then you move on. So that's the structure of commercial bank. Or you have a product that you want to quickly bring in, and so that you can sell, return money, and bring back. So it's short-term loans. That's what it's supposed to do.
When you say short-term loans, it's 3 years short-term.
No, that's at the maximum.
Okay, but it's not short-term. Good.
Yeah.
Now, the interest rate on that 3 years, taking Nigeria for example, is it business-wise? Is it profitable to the business?
You see, it's sometimes I say it's
the
like,
collector's business, not the giver's business.
Yeah, I'm talking about the it's like, say, the chick before the egg, which came first. That's a kind of the scenario you are painting here. The risk of payback is huge. So a lot of people take facility from the bank, and the bank is chasing them all over the places. So the risk incurred trying to recover the facility given to people is huge for the bank. So who pay for that risk? The fuel, the manpower that is deployed to be chasing people who naturally, if they were people of integrity, will say, every month I'm going to be remitting so amount back in repayment of the facility. And then, of course, you see money come into your hand. See that you are marrying more wife, or you are buying a pleasure car, and now you are not able to refund this money. And the bank will need to be chasing you from place to see, hiring lawyer, hiring a loan recovery agent to ensure that they get part of this money back from you. That is a cost. And these are factored in to the rate of a facility. So this is where, of course, again, we talk about the issue of value. So if you have a system where people are responsible, honest, and sincere enough to honor commitments, then, of course, the risk become lower and the rate of facility also will go down.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Idahosa. It's always a pleasure having you on SOUQ Pulse. You're just nodding your head. Say something.
It's my pleasure to be here.
I want to say thank you, every single viewer out there, everyone that has joined us on all the platforms. Say thank you very much. Remember, share it. Tell your families about us. Share the link. You'll bless somebody, I promise you. To everyone that has been part of this production from behind the camera, I want to say thank you very much. We'll do this again tomorrow, and it promises to be very exciting. Remember, this is SOUQ News. Here is all about positive programming. We love you. My name is Chooks, John Rogers Chooks. See you tomorrow. You tell me I was. Doctor was putting me on that.